Could the Falcons be in the mix to trade for Trey Lance? We're going to talk about this potential trade along with some other really important news and notes, including a week 1 injury bug for the Carolina Panthers. But welcome into Falcons Today by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here, feeling a bit under the weather, so I'm sorry for the congested voice. But enough of that. Let's get right into it. And let's talk about Trey Lance, because the big news out of the Bay Area today is that the 49ers announced that Trey Lance is third on their depth chart behind Sam Darnold. Now, the reports are that the 49ers are, quote, exploring options with Lance. Now, we're talking about a former third overall pick from just 2 drafts ago. Now, I am not here to advocate for Trey Lance coming over and taking Desmond Ridder's job. That is not the point of this video. And if you come away with that point, I'm sorry, but that's not the intention. What I want to talk about is whether or not the Falcons would kick the tires on a potential Trey Lance trade. Now, the story continues to get even juicier, though, from San Francisco, as one of the reporters, Matt Barrows, tweeted out Trey Lance is notably missing from today's practice. That came after the announcement that he was QB3. So there are some teams potentially in the mix already for Trey Lance. Ian Rappaport tweeted out that the Minnesota Vikings, his hometown team, did a lot of homework on him back during the draft process. So I just want to give you that little nugget right there as a potential trade destination. But the reality is Trey Lance is done in San Francisco. I think the only way he can come back is if he decides to just kind of, soldier on and put a good face on and be a good Boy Scout and show up to the rest of the games and whatnot this year. And once his rookie contract is done, he can go sign somewhere else in free agency. Or maybe his saving grace is if a bunch of injuries happen and he comes in and just like Brock Purdy last year, he saves the day and now the 49ers have 2 good quarterbacks on their hands. I don't know. But Trey Lance, 95% chance is done in San Francisco. So like I said, would the Falcons have any interest in at least acquiring him just to see if they can try and find that old third overall potential if it's not a big statement to say Desmond Ridder does not pan out in Atlanta? Now, before we get to that side of the coin, I do want to plug our live watch party tomorrow for the Falcons-Steelers preseason finale. Producer Rolly and I will be live for this game, so make sure to tune in for our watch party. It's a blast. It's the best way to take a Falcons football game in. Now, would Atlanta be interested in Lance? I am not, and I cannot make myself clear enough about this, advocating for Atlanta to trade for Trey Lance to replace Desmond Ridder as your starter. But I do think there are a list of teams out there that are a little bit in the gray area at the quarterback position long term, and fairly so. Atlanta is in that group because they've got basically a rookie, more or less, in Desmond Ridder, a third-round pick out of Cincinnati at the driver's seat, and we have no idea what to really expect out of him going into his 5th NFL start in Week 1 against the Panthers. For what it's worth, and I think one of the most in-the-know people when it comes to the Falcons, Josh Kendall from The Athletic tweeted out, in case you were wondering, I'd be very surprised if the Falcons get into the Trey Lance discussions. But there is a question to be had. Would the Falcons be interested in Trey Lance? Personally, I am not interested in Trey Lance as the Falcons 2023 starter. However, I am interested on flyers for really any player that has shown a lot of potential for the right price, right? Show of hands, who would take Trey Lance on the Falcons roster if the 49ers kicked in a 7th or 6th round pick into the trade as well, just to get him out of the building? At that point, we can all agree, what's the worst that can happen? The Falcons get Trey Lance for a bag of peanuts, and if he doesn't work out, oh well, it cost him nothing? Like, that's something I think we can all at least agree to explore that path, right? Trey Lance so far in his NFL career has 4 starts under his belt, 8 total appearances, not a lot of game reps though. His completion percentage kind of reflects that. He still needs to work on his accuracy. 797 passing yards, 5 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. In fact, you can take a step further and go, Trey Lance at North Dakota State didn't have a lot of reps. He only started 1 season there for the Bison. He threw for 2,900 yards, 30 touchdowns, 1 interception, and 19 total games throughout his time in Bismarck, North Dakota. He was also a very good rusher, though. Again, small sample size. He has not played a ton of football, even at the college level. This wasn't even a guy who started for more than just one season in FCS football. But I do know this. Arthur Smith loves mobile quarterbacks, right? He had one in Ryan Tannehill, who can move better than your average NFL fan think he could. He had one in Marcus Mariota, who he somewhat probably advocated to sign, right? He overlapped with Mariota back in Tennessee. And he has one now in Desmond Ridder. So if you are looking for a pattern in Arthur Smith's quarterbacks, they are all mobile quarterbacks. They are not statues. And Trey Lance, he ain't a statue. He is definitely mobile. So if Arthur Smith goes, hey, if we can get him for nothing, upside, I can mold him into what the 49ers thought they were getting when they picked him third overall. Downside, it doesn't work out. We release him after one season, and we're out a 6th-round pick. Like, that is where I'm trying to get at here. If that's what it costs, and I wouldn't go much higher than that, who wouldn't be interested in at least seeing if Arthur Smith, who I think is one of the most underappreciated coaches in football, the guy won 7 games last year with horrendous quarterback play. Most teams would have been picking top 3 in the draft. But let me know, is Trey Lance a bust or can he be saved? I'll leave this one kind of open-ended. I used to think he was a bust and there's no going back. And I've seen some of his preseason reps, and I feel like the 49ers are just kind of doing him dirty. They're hardly letting him throw the ball in preseason. He had some good moments in that last game he had in the preseason against the Broncos. So I think there is at least a tiny % chance he could be saved. And if it's not going to cost you a whole lot, the upside is worth it. The reward is there. It's a lottery ticket, which, yeah, most times you buy a lottery ticket, you get nothing. Most times, all the time. But when you do win, you win big. And so why not buy a lottery ticket for $2? Lance is 23 years old. He has played 27 football games since 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. 5 years, he's played 27 games. There are 17 games in an NFL regular season. 2 NFL seasons, he has passed what he has done in 5 years. There just has not been enough tape, enough data points on Trey Lance because he's played 27 games in 5 years. The guy is still learning the game of football. And so if Arthur Smith goes, we could have a diamond in the rough here while the rest of the league has moved on from Trey Lance, I see something in these 27 games that makes me believe I could coach him up into be the next franchise QB for this team. If Desmond Ridder does not work out, which, let's be honest, this is not against Desmond Ridder, but we are talking about a 3rd-round pick who has 4 starts. Let's not just call him the prophecy already. I think there is something to be said about going down the idea of seeing what it could at least cost to get Trey Lance. Now, when you look at Atlanta's 2024 draft picks, everything you see on the left side of the screen, just cross it off. I am not interested in Atlanta giving up a 1st, a 2nd, a 3rd, or even a 4th for Trey Lance. But a 5th, a 6th, or a 7th, or you don't have a 7th, or 2 6s? Yeah. Okay, boo-hoo. If you give up a 5th and it doesn't work out, it costs you a 5th-round pick. But if it does work out, man, you got your franchise quarterback for a 5th-round pick. So here's my trade idea. This is the offer I would present if I was Terry Fontenot, a day 3 pick swap. And I'm sorry, San Francisco, you ain't getting much better than that. Trey Lance's stock could not be any lower right now. You're putting it at an all-time low by making him the 3rd-string quarterback, right? San Francisco says he's our 3rd best QB. How can they turn around and go, but we want to get a lot for him? No. You yourself said he is QB3. So if he's QB3 for you, what team would give up a lot of picks for their 3rd-string quarterback? Nobody. But this is a QB3 that went 3rd overall, that clearly has a lot of arm potential, insane arm talent in terms of the strength and the ability to make a shortstop and just like Ozzie, flick it across the diamond. That's kind of interesting. I'm not going to lie. So would you do this trade? T for trade or P for pass? I would do the trade. Worst case scenario, he sucks and you cut him. Best case scenario, he's your new franchise quarterback. Middle case scenario, Desmond Ridder is the guy, Trey Lance is a backup, and you move on and you don't even really care because it was one day 3 pick swap a few years ago, and you are now celebrating Lombardi trophies in Atlanta with Desmond Ridder because he is the guy. I just don't see a downside to doing something like this. Now, before we get on out of here, I do want to share some injury news regarding the Carolina Panthers. So, Panthers top wide receiver DJ Chark is dealing with a hamstring injury. Why are we talking about this? Because the Panthers and the Falcons kick off in 18 days, and this is Carolina's number one go-to guy. Ian Rappaport tweeted out that DJ Chark with a hamstring injury doesn't sound like a major one, but if we know anything about soft tissue injuries, they're not ones to play with, and they can be excruciating long. It's not like a bone that needs to heal. It's just hoping one day you wake up and your hamstring doesn't feel like it's going to pop. So they might be cautious with this, and they might sit him out week 1 against Atlanta. And if that's the case, I did you a solid already. I already did a deep dive on Panthers Twitter, and the reactions, they're great. Panthers on Tap, a Twitter fan account, tweeted out, the Panthers wide receiver room was a DJ Chark injury away from being a disaster. Now we've hit that point. Hope Chark's injury is nothing serious. I hope so too, but selfishly, maybe for the best of DJ Chark, have him sit week 1. You don't want to push it. Hamstring injuries, they can be reoccurring. Talk to Julio about that. Might be a good idea to let him rest for an extra week or 2 into the regular season for no good reason at all. But if there is no DJ Chark, it is old man Adam Thielen, rookie Jonathan Mingo, and third-year player Terrence Marshall playing catch with rookie quarterback Bryce Young against these guys. A.J. Terrell, Jesse Bates, Grady Jarrett, just to name a couple. Oh, if you were not all over the Falcons winning week 1, this should push you over the edge. Because Bryce Young making his rookie debut, it's going to be tough enough. You are going to be running uphill in quicksand. But to do it without your number 1 receiver potentially against a rising, no pun intended, defense in Atlanta, that's going to make it very tough sledding for number 9. So who you got, Falcons or Panthers? Let me know down in the comments section. No first overall pick quarterback who made his debut in week 1 of his rookie season has won in over, I believe, 20 years. I think the trend continues. I also want to wrap up the show with some big disrespect from Vegas. So Vegas put out the individual player odds for this upcoming season. And for Desmond Ridder, they set his passing touchdowns mark at 15.5. So Marcus Mariota threw 15 touchdowns last year, by the way, and he didn't even play the full season. So this tells me either A, Vegas thinks Ridder sucks, or B, they don't think Ridder's going to play the full season. If Ridder plays even 16 games and throws 1 touchdown a game, he is beating this number. So there is some free money to be had out there if you want to put your life savings into the over at -105. I know I will, and I'll see you guys in January on our private islands.